Hi, everybody. If you are so inclined and want to turn on your cameras, please feel free. It can often help us feel a little bit more connected and also inspire conversation, surprisingly enough. But I understand if you don't want to or are unable, so no worries. First off, a huge thanks to Kristen and the Elderwerks team for hosting this today and asking me to come and present. And thanks to all of you for being in attendance. If you weren't in attendance, we would have absolutely no reason to be here. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself first, and then we'll get into the presentation. So my name is Tony LaPalio. As Kristen mentioned, I am the founder and CEO of a Wheaton-based business called Senior Tech Support, and we provide in-person and remote tech support specifically for older adults and seniors with a focus on training and education. So we also do technology presentations like this. And so I'm really happy to be here. And we're going to talk about internet safety and avoiding online scams. I know that Kristen had mentioned to put questions in the chat. Kristen, if it's okay with you, and if you're going to be on, I would love interaction during the presentation, especially when we've got groups that are, this small in size. So if you do have questions, I am absolutely okay with you raising your hand or asking the question as the presentation is going on. I would much rather this be a dialogue than a lecture. And so that way we don't have to maybe worry about forgetting them, and we can actually address questions right in real time. So, all right, sound good, everybody? Here we go. We are going to be talking about the basics of internet safety. That's really the first thing that I always like to talk about when we do this presentation. I like to use a little phrase called be aware, be prepared, and be defensive. We will talk about that shortly, so tuck that away in the back of your brain momentarily. We'll talk about spam, which is really simply unsolicited communication. We're going to talk about your device privacy settings. And then we're going to talk about passwords. And we're going to camp out on passwords for a little while. I know it can be a frustrating and annoying topic to talk about, but it is important. So we are going to hang out there a little while. I'll do my best to make it as painless as possible. I want you to remember the phrase long is strong as we get to passwords. So after we get through sort of the basics of internet safety, we're going to turn the page into internet scams. We're going to talk about what they are, typical ones, types of scams, how to spot them, and really what to do if you are a victim of one of these online scams, because at the end of the day, that is really important information to know as well. What do we do if this happens? All right, so without further ado, we are going to head into the basics. So the internet highway. I love this picture. I think it's really cool, but I was told during one of my presentations that nobody calls the internet highway anymore. If you were around when the internet was invented, apparently by Al Gore, if anyone ever remembers that hilarious comment, they actually did call it the internet highway. And it works for the analogy that I'm going to use right now. So I want you to imagine that the internet is a road, and there are lots of roads everywhere. It can take you all over the place, just like roads can. And when I was in driver's ed, they were teaching a concept called defensive driving. Now, I think that they've been teaching defensive driving for quite some time now, so it's nothing new, and I think it's a concept that you should probably be familiar with. Now, don't take this personally, but when I am driving on the road, I consider myself the only safe driver on the road. That is pretty much the definition of defensive driving. You are looking out, you are being aware of your surroundings, you're being prepared to take action, and ultimately you're being defensive. Now, I want you to translate that concept into using the internet. It's really important when we are on the internet that we are using those concepts of defensive driving or being defensive while we are online. And the same concepts hold true. Being aware. We need to be aware of our surroundings. We can't just go online and do anything we want willy-nilly. Yes, it's fun to click on links and open attachments, but if you do that without knowing who they're coming from, you could be opening yourself up to a world of pain and hurt. And so, again, being aware, using our common sense of what's going on around us, and paying attention, being prepared is the next step, which is what we're doing today. We are preparing so that we can take action if we see anything that is suspicious or maybe looks like something that might not be legitimate. And ultimately, all those things lead to being able to be defensive so you can not fall victim to these things. So I hope the analogy works for you guys. It's a good foundation for where we're headed. Be aware, be prepared, and be defensive. Now we're going to talk about spam. No, not that kind of spam. We're going to talk about the spam that nobody likes, although maybe I shouldn't say that. Some people do like spam, actually, the canned spam. I personally think that there are better cuts of meat to eat, but hey, I'm not going to judge. So if you like canned spam, go for it. But we're not going to talk about that today. We are going to talk about spam, unsolicited communications, and really ultimately, we've all dealt with our whole lives. When you go to your mailbox and you open the mail and you pull out all of that mail and 95% of it is junk mail, that's spam. It simply means unsolicited communication, information, whether it's digital or physical, that you didn't ask for, but you're getting it anyway. In a digital environment, we get spam pretty much as much or even more than we actually get in our mailboxes. If you're like me, I'm constantly deleting junk mail from my inbox, and declining potential spam calls on my cell phone. So we get emails a lot. We have to pay attention for links and attachments, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We get text messages, right? We get spam text messages, and links. Everybody knows what a link is. It's a little blue, sometimes, or underlined words that you can click on and it opens up a web browser. That can be dangerous sometimes. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And then phone calls, robocalls or junk phone calls from your local politician who's running for office, who wants you to contribute to their campaign, or maybe it's just some sort of a solicitation for, a new cable provider in your area, or AT&T calls you. But we're all familiar with this, right? Now, one other thing that I want everybody to remember is all scams are spam, but not all spam are scams. Does that make sense? I'll say it one more time. All scams start out as spam. All scams start out as unsolicited communication. You didn't ask for that, right? Elderworks asked me to come today to present, so I am not spam, right? But scams start out that way. It's things that you didn't ask for. But not all spam are scams, right? So when you go to your mailbox and you open up the mailbox and you take out all the mail and you see the flyer for the guy who wants to clean out your gutters, or somebody who wants to wash your windows, or the coupons at the local grocery store. Those aren't dangerous. They're annoying, right? But they're not dangerous. Just like some of the information that you might get in your emails are just solicitations. Maybe you're getting spam email from a store that you like to shop at. And they're just telling you about the specials that they have going on, right? Those things aren't dangerous. But some of that unsolicited communication is potentially dangerous, and that is what we're talking about today. All right, now I want to talk about privacy settings. We're going to talk about some real basics of privacy settings. Um, Now, all of the web browsers that you use, and web browsers, I'm talking about the programs that you use to get onto the internet, like Firefox or Chrome or Safari. So those are all called web browsers. All of those web browsers that you use to get onto the internet, they all have privacy and security settings. Your computers, your phones, they have privacy and security settings. Social media sites, they have privacy and security settings, right? So all of these privacy and security settings, what are we supposed to do with them? Leave them alone. Okay? Don't turn them off, especially if someone asks you to turn them off. If someone does ask you to turn them off, they're probably trying to get you to do something that you shouldn't be doing. Unless you're with me or someone from my team and we're here helping you, you should not be changing or turning off your security or privacy settings. Um, the manufacturers of your phones and computers, the creators of these social media sites and the web browsers, they've put these in place to try and protect us from the bad people. Um, and so really ultimately the point of all of this is leave those settings alone. Don't turn them off. Um, One thing I do want to also make you aware of, has anybody ever heard of the term firewall as it pertains to the digital environment? I'll take the silence as a no. So I'll tell you what a firewall is. And fun fact, the firewall concept comes from the automotive industry. Way back in the day, when cars apparently used to catch on fire a lot more than they do now, there was actually a flame retardant material built in between the engine compartment and the passenger compartment to prevent, I'll give you one guess, fire. Um, so preventing fire from entering the passenger compartment from the engine compartment, at least giving somebody enough time to hopefully exit the car before it did. And so that was called a firewall. Now, in the image below, you can see the firewall is in between the computer and the internet, right? What it does is it lets information out of the computer into the internet, but it prevents some information from getting to the computer. And what information don't you want to get into the computer? Well, viruses, malware, things that would be bad for you or for the computer. And these firewalls or security systems are built into the software that you're already using. If you have a Windows computer, you have something called Windows Defender or Microsoft Security. that is already built in and turned on. So if you ever see a setting for a firewall or something that says Windows Defender or Windows Security, don't turn that off, just leave it on. If you use Apple products like a MacBook or an iMac, they also have digital security and firewalls that you should leave on. Any questions so far? I'm throwing a lot of information at you guys. Hopefully it's all making sense. Okay, I will keep going then. All right, so now we are going to talk about passwords. Now we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna hang out here for a little while. What I want you to remember, as I said in the beginning, that long is strong and longer is stronger. Easy to remember because they rhyme. Long is strong and longer is stronger. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more as we get into this. There is a difference between weak passwords and strong passwords. All right. We don't want to reuse passwords. I know it's frustrating. We all do it. We use the same password across multiple websites. It's not something that you want to do because unfortunately, if somebody does obtain your password or a website is compromised that has your password stored in it, and you've used that password at all of your other websites that you log into, now the bad guy's got your password for all those websites instead of just one. Okay, so really not using the same password over and over and over is pretty important. The other thing that we want to make sure we're doing is changing them regularly. Although I just today was listening to the radio and heard that the federal agency that is responsible for creating the guidelines about password use that the federal government uses, which usually roll down then to private businesses, actually have conducted some studies over who knows how long and determined that changing your passwords regularly actually isn't any safer than just keeping them the same. So that's the reporting I heard. I'm not so sure about that, but that's what I heard. So I'm just passing along the information. What does change regularly mean? Before this radio program today, the recommendation by security experts was to change passwords every 3 to 4 months. All right, so now let's talk about passwords. And so now I'm going to ask for some interaction here. Okay, so get ready. Come off mute if you need to. Weak passwords, the upper left-hand quadrant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not a good password. The word password. Not a good password. In fact, please don't ever use the word password as your password. It's a bad idea. And why? Why are these very weak passwords weak? Because they're easily guessable, okay? First of all, we don't want to use easily guessable passwords. And this is usually the time when I give a little fun example. So a lot of people think that the bad guy, the hacker, right? Everybody's heard the term hacker before. Everybody thinks that the bad guy hacker, he's sitting at his computer typing in one password at a time, right? Let's see, does this one work? And he presses enter, and that one didn't work. And then he types in another one and he presses enter, and that one didn't work either, right? So that's not what's happening, okay? What's really happening is the bad guy is using a computer program that is running through hundreds of thousands of combinations of letters and numbers and special characters every second until it finds the right combination of letters and numbers and characters that will be somebody's password, right? So we don't want to use something that's easily guessable or easy common combinations of letters and numbers, like these in the weak password box. All right. So does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So
Yeah.
now we're going to move over to the still weak side. They're still weak, but they're a little bit better. So what do you guys see in the still weak box that's different than the one before it?
They just added an exclamation mark or a special character.
Okay, exclamation mark, special character. Absolutely. So special characters are the obviously, an exclamation mark, the dollar signs, the star, pound sign. Those are special characters, the at sign, right? Um, we've started to use more combinations of these things. Look at how the dollar signs are used in the password one. They're used as actual letters. Okay. So this is where we start to talk about the concept of complexity. All right. So the weak passwords were very simple. They're easily guessable. We're starting to make the passwords more complex. And as we make them more complex, it is much, much more difficult for these computer programs to figure them out. Okay. All right. So let's go on to the strong password box. What are we seeing in the strong password box, the green one in the lower left-hand side, that's different from the other two that we were talking about earlier?
Well, it's longer. It has more special characters.
Okay, it's definitely longer, but there
And,
are no special characters. So
well, the
it's
walk
not,
to my house is, it has a number rather.
it has a number.
Mhm.
But look how the number is being used. The number is being used in place of what?
A word.
A word. Exactly. So instead of writing out the word two, we're using the numeral two in its place. Again, we're adding a level of complexity. Okay. We're also introducing the concept of phrases. Walk 2 miles today. Keep it locked down. Learn from anyone. These are phrases. Why are phrases good? Meaningful phrases that are meaningful to you are good for a couple different reasons. One of the reasons is because it's easier to remember. We're going to talk about that a little more later, remembering all these passwords. Because I know that's what you're thinking about. How am I supposed to remember all these passwords? Don't worry, we'll get to it. So phrases are easier to remember, they're meaningful to you, but they are also very complex. Okay. They are much, much more difficult. Even if we're not using special characters, using phrases is a really good idea. Using phrases and special characters is an even better idea. Okay, so now we're going to go into the final box, stronger passwords. What are you guys seeing here?
Combination of phrase, special characters, numbers.
Yep, absolutely. What else? Phrase, special characters, numbers. What else? There's some others in there.
Capitals.
Capitals, capitals and lowercase, absolutely. There's more. We talked about some of them already.
Well, the symbols are in place of some of the letters.
Yes, yes, the special characters are being substituted for letters. Absolutely, you got it. And then we're also using numerals in substitution of writing out the actual number. And we're actually using numerals as part of the letters in a full word. Look at walk 2 miles today, right? You've got a phrase, you've got uppercase and lowercase, you've got special characters, you've got numerals, you've got a numeral replacing letters in a word, and then you've got a numeral replacing an entire word. So do you guys, are you understanding the concept here, this complexity, right? We're
Mhm.
trying to make these passwords as difficult as possible for these computer programs to figure out the combinations of letters and numbers and special characters, okay? Um, so
I have
one other thing that I will say is that the stronger password box, I don't even think are the strongest passwords. Now, I know you're all going to hate me for this one, but oh, yeah, Peggy, go ahead.
What I'm wondering is those zeros with the slash through them. What is that?
That represents the number 0 instead of the letter O. So that's just to signify that it's a numeral and
Okay, but I haven't ever seen it on a keyboard.
Yeah, that sometimes you'll see it, sometimes you won't, but in this illustration, it was just to signify that it was a number.
Okay, so it's 0 instead of O.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Denise?
Yes, I have a question. Sometimes when, say like I'm changing a password and there's suggested passwords that come up and someone will say stronger or, do you want to use your own? Is it a good idea to select those suggested passwords that come up?
It was like you read my mind, because that
Oh,
is exactly what I was about to say. So those suggested passwords are actually very good to use, and Denise, because those are nonsense passwords.
yeah, they are.
They don't make any sense. It's just random combinations of letters and numbers and symbols, right? And those are the most complex and the strongest passwords to use. Capital L, $, dash, period, hashtag, capital O. You get the picture? Right. This is where everybody groans and rolls their eyes and throws up their hands and they go, "Well, how am I supposed to remember all these passwords?" Right?
Exactly.
Well, you write them in the little book that you keep next to your computer.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't do that. And you should all be chuckling because I know that you all have a little book that you write all of these passwords down and you keep it right next to your computer. But that's not what you want to do. I have a whole nother presentation on digital password managers, and that is how you should be remembering all of these passwords because nobody can remember them all in their head. So, Denise, again, when your computer or your phone asks you if you'd like to use the password that it is suggesting, it's okay to say yes. I know that many of you are probably terrified when you see that. You don't know what to do. You throw your phone as far away from you as you possibly can and you run the other way. You don't have to be afraid anymore. That is your device trying to help you to come up with a complex password. And the beauty of it is that it will save that password for you. So the next time you go to that website on that device, it will automatically put in your username and password for you so that you don't have to remember it. Okay?
So
So
will
if you,
it be on that particular device? What if you, because like I use an iPad, Apple, and a regular Mac and my Apple phone. So it doesn't go across all three of those devices. It'll just go on the device that I changed that password on.
yes and no,
Oh
maybe.
my,
So there are different. So if you use all Apple devices in your example, you can turn on what's called Keychain, and Keychain uses the cloud to transfer those passwords from one device to another device. But you have to use Safari, the web browser Safari. Okay. If you're not using all Apple devices, you can use the same web browser, but you have to use the same web browser on each device and set up an account with that web browser so that it knows who you are no matter what device you're on. Again, I have a whole different presentation that's all about password managers. We don't have enough time today to talk about how to do that, but hopefully that makes sense and gives you an idea of how you might go about setting that up.
Oh, great. So will we get a listing of your different presentations? Because I'm interested.
Well, I have lots of different presentations that I give. Some of them are with Elderwerks, some of them are other places. If you'd like to, provide your email, I can add you to our email list, and then we give updates about our opportunities in the community, and you can come out and find us and different presentations that we give.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Good questions. Any other questions? I can't see any of you, so are your heads spinning yet? Are you all still with me? I know a couple of you are. Well, I hope I haven't lost too many of you. But this, let me say one other thing, one final thing I'll say about passwords. It's, don't shoot the messenger here, but there is no absolute safety when it comes to passwords, right? We've all had emails from big companies that have told us that they've been hacked and they got our passwords are compromised and we need to go in and change our passwords, or sometimes websites will even force you to change your password if they know it's been compromised before they'll even let you back on the site, right? And that's a good thing. Companies should do that. They should tell you if they've been breached and there's sensitive information out there. If you should change your password, we should know that. But it happens all the time. Happens to huge companies. And what I always say is, if the federal government that spends millions and millions and millions of dollars to keep their systems safe can get hacked, you and I have no hope. It's sort of a joke and it's sort of not. But the point is that we want to make these passwords as difficult as possible for these computer programs to figure out, for the bad guys to figure out, right? Can it still happen? Yes, it can. There's no way around it. But can we make it really, really difficult? Yeah, we can. I think I've seen some studies, and I don't have the actual numbers, but generally speaking, if a password is at least 8 characters or 12 characters, remember, longer is stronger, it can take some of the fastest computers in the world 8-10 years to figure out what the combinations are to figure out what the password is. Does that make sense? So that's why long is strong and longer is stronger. Every time you add one character to a password, it makes it exponentially more difficult to figure out. Okay, so I beat that horse dead. All right, before I move on, any final questions on passwords before we move into scams?
Okay, I'm sorry, it's Denise again.
Go ahead.
I know it used to be like, when I'm retired right now, but when I was working, we had a tendency to have a password, and then to change it, we would just change one letter or one character or something like that and just keep using the system, because we had to change them like every 3 months.
Right.
Is that not good?
It's not the best. I'm not going to say it's not good. It's not the best. And here's why it's not the best. It's because that's easily guessable. Because you're not the only person that does that. Everybody does that. Everybody changes just one letter or one number. If your password is, fly me to the moon #1, and then you got to change it and it's fly me to the moon #2. And then fly me to the moon #3, right?
Yeah.
You just change one, right? You just change the number to the next number in sequence. So it's not the worst thing, but it's not the best thing.
All right.
Sorry. I know it's not the answer you were hoping for, but it's the right answer. All right, anything else? All right, here we go. We're going to move on to internet scams. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but here are some types of scams that you may have heard of, or you may have actually even been engaged with potentially. On the right hand side of the screen is sort of a generalization of how much money people have lost or lose per time these scams are perpetrated. $2,000 for a fake check scam, $795 for a prize or a sweepstakes scam, right? And we've heard of all of these, right? You've gotten the emails that say, dear sirs or madams, your brother's, father's, uncle's, sister's, nephew's, wife's former roommate from college died and named you as the sole heir of their $7 million estate. All we need you to do is pay us the very small $200 processing and legal fee so that we can put all the paperwork in order to release that money to you. Oh yeah, and we need your bank account routing number and account number. Right. So we've seen those. Those are as old as as the internet has been around. But some of these other ones are incredibly sophisticated. I actually received a phone call from the IRS not too long ago, and it went something like this. Hi, Mr. LaPalio. This is Mark with the Internal Revenue Service. We're calling today to inform you that the police are on their way to your house to arrest you due to your non-payment of over $15,000 in back taxes, penalties, and fees. Now, Mr. LaPalio, it's okay. Stop hyperventilating. If you promise that you will do a payment plan and set that up with me right now, I can contact the police and tell them that you have started a payment program with me, and they will turn around and you will not be arrested. And it's really happened, right? And I knew about this scam, so I just hung up, right? But other people are terrified in these situations. The police are on their way to your house. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? My neighbors, and I'm alone, and there's fear involved. There's urgency involved. The scammer is saying you have to do this right now. The police are on their way, and these are awful. Another one that has been really popular. Oh, by the way, the IRS will never call you. Period. End of story. If the IRS needs to get in touch with you that badly, they will send somebody to your front door, and then you're in trouble. Yeah, Denise.
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm the only one on here, but anyway.
Hey, ask questions. It's great. I have no problem.
I just wanted to say, I just recently, in fact, this weekend, I just got these are coming in text messages too.
Mm-hmm.
And I just recently got one from the iPass saying that I owe money for an iPass. And It's a very small amount. It's only $4.15, but it kind of alerted me. And I ended up, I'm like, well, I already have that coming out anyway. I already have an iPass account. And on the iPass account, when I went into it, it did say that this is what's going on. So I guess I just want to alert people for the iPasses that that's what's happening. I guess I'm more concerned for future with this AI going on with the friends and family imposters and stuff. How are we going to know the difference, especially with AI? Or are we?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that.
Okay.
I have heard AI bots that sound pretty close to human beings.
Okay.
But thanks for sharing that one with us.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other scams that you guys have heard of, or maybe even received phone calls or would like to share with the group?
Well, I have a PayPal account and I've gotten a couple of imposter emails saying that somebody had put in a request for an invoice that, first of all, that was never mine. And fortunately, I don't keep money in my PayPal account. So if they did put it, I looked on my PayPal account and it wasn't true.
Right. And that was good that you did that. You went to your PayPal account and
Correct.
verified that you were trying to be, that you were, there was an attempted scam happening. And
Yeah.
that's really smart. You didn't just click on the link, because who
No,
knows, that link
no.
could have taken you to a site that looked just like PayPal.
Oh, right, right. No, I mean, that's one of the things that I've learned. If you get something from somebody that it looks pretty official, go to their own website in a separate place.
That's right. And you never click on the link. We're going to talk about that in a second. So you can see some other scams here. Your friend needs money, you owe money, you've won money, you've received money. I mean, there's all sorts of scams out there. Another really popular one, is you get a phone call in the middle of the night and it's from your grandchild who is in jail and they need money for bail. That's a pretty popular one too. And even more convincing, if you think that one's a scam and you hang up, 5 minutes later you get another phone call and it's the lawyer who's been assigned as their public defender, who is calling you and saying, yes, it's true, your grandson is in jail, he needs $1,000 for bail and you can wire it to this account number. And you do that and the money's just gone. It's gone. So again, just want to make you aware of some of these that are going on. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to spot these scams. All right, so up at the top is a text message. Okay, it says Seaport Alert. Did you try to charge $290.60 USD at Digit Liver? And there's a link to stop the payment, right? It's like, what? Oh my gosh, no, I didn't do that. And I click on the link and they ask me for some information that I shouldn't give them. And before you know it, they've got my bank account number or they've got a credit card number because they need my credit card number to cancel the transaction, right? And I'm not thinking clearly and I just give it to them, right? So here's the thing. If you get a text message from somebody you don't know, don't ever click on any links, okay, from people that you don't know, even if it's from a company that you've done business with in the past, like Amazon or FedEx. We couldn't deliver your package. UPS, these scams are going out all the time. Click on this link so that we can deliver your package, right? Don't click on these links, all right? And like Denise said before, if you get something like this and you're not sure, let's say you get a text message that says it's from Amazon, right? Saying there was a charge made to your account, click here to do something, right? Go into your Amazon account on another computer. Don't click on the link or call Amazon. They do have a phone number. It's hard to find, but you can call them, okay? So don't ever click on links in text messages if you don't know who they're from, all right? Just don't do it. The bottom one is an email. And so I want to point out a few ways that you can spot some of these things. Now, first of all, you should always look to see who the email is being sent from. You see the little from line, it says global pay VT at globalpay.com. You can always see who an email is being sent from. You might have to mouse over something or click on something to expand your window to see it, but it's always available for you to see, okay? Just like a text message, if you see something that is coming from an email address that you don't recognize, do not click on any links, and please, for the love of God, do not open any attachments. Everybody know what an attachment is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's usually down at the bottom, there's that little picture or a link, and it says, click on this to download the attachment. Don't ever do that. Don't ever click on any links or open any attachments from people who you don't know who they are. Okay. Now, Global Pay, vt@globalpay.com. I have no idea who this is. I don't know who Global Pay is. I've never done business with a company called Global Pay. This is a scam. It's garbage. If I'm really interested, I could just Google Global Pay. Is Global Pay a real company? Probably not, right? The other dead giveaway is Dear Customer, lowercase c. If
Mhm.
if I'm doing business with a legitimate company, they're not going to call me customer. They're going to know my name, either my first or my last name or both, right? And so they're going to say Dear Tony or Dear Mr. LaPalio. So again, that's another dead giveaway. Some other really dead giveaways are spelling or grammar mistakes. If it looks like an email has been written by somebody whose first language isn't English, and this is nothing against people whose first language isn't English. This is only because a lot of these scams are coming from countries where their first language isn't English. But if an email looks like it was written by somebody whose first language isn't English, it's probably a scam. If there's spelling mistakes, if there's grammar mistakes, if there's punctuation mistakes. So again, remember how we said be aware? This is where you need to be aware. You need to look for these things. And this is how we're preparing you to be defensive.
In this one also, they spelled please wrong.
So they did. They misspelled please. Absolutely. See, there you go. Nice job. Somebody's paying attention. All right. So here's another one that I actually got. Anybody ever heard of McAfee before?
Yes.
They're a real company. Guess what they do? They provide internet security, right? So I got this invoice from McAfee telling me that I owed them $299.99.
Oh, yeah.
Dead giveaway. When have you ever seen somebody write out a dollar amount with 3 decimal places? Never. Well, maybe somebody said, well, your tax assessor might. Yes, your tax assessor might. But nobody writes out a number, a dollar amount with 3 decimal places. Dead giveaway, right? First of all, I know I don't use McAfee, so I know that this is garbage. But look who it's coming from. Chucho Finn. Who's Chucho Finn? Shouldn't it be coming from customer service or, some other generic email? And why is Chucho Finn sending this to me and how many other people?
143.
143 people. Why is Chucho Finn sending my bill to 143 other people? Right? Okay. So you're starting to get the picture here. So now we've got a customer support number, so I should just call that number, right?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. That's right. Don't call that number. Don't call the number that they want you to call that's on the fake invoice that's not really yours. Okay? If you do suspect that it might be legitimate, find McAfee's real phone number. Go online, do a Google search McAfee customer support, and I guarantee you it's not going to be the same number that's up here on the screen. Okay? So again, you can see hi user, generic greeting. Your complete has a space in between the E and the T. I mean, there's all sorts of little things on here. Look at the bottom where it says you can change your subscription plan anytime. Keep reading unless you cancel by 0/11th SEP. Like nobody writes the date that way. So there are all sorts of these little clues that you should start to be aware of and start looking for. Okay, so I hope this is helping you guys to learn a little bit more about these scams. The last thing that we're going to wrap up with is what to do if you're a victim. So yeah, we can look at the slide, but listen to what I'm just going to say for a second. There are 2 people that oh yeah, go ahead, Denise.
going back to these scam emails, now when we go into our computers and we delete these, should we delete this to our junk mail or to the trash mail?
If you delete it, if you send it to junk, it's fine. If you delete it, that's fine too. Odds are, even if you mark it as junk or spam, you're going to keep getting it because they're just going to change the email address that it's being sent from. But these aren't dangerous. You don't have to worry about these. Just don't engage with them.
Because it seems as though, even though I junk it or trash it, like there's certain periods of time that I just get a bunch of them all the time for, I don't know, a month or so. And then they'll die down. And then even like how you said to like this Gacho Fin, and I will hit on the arrow and I would go in and I would block the address. But then there's that 143 more addresses that I'll have to go in and block also in order not to keep getting this particular. What do you do?
Yeah, you can't really do much of anything, unfortunately. This stuff is just going to come. It's really, really difficult to stop it from happening. But that's why this awareness is so important.
All right. Thank you.
Again, I know not the answer you wanted to hear. So.
Oh, you're not giving me any answers.
All right. So listen, if you do get involved in a scam, you must do the two following things. You must. The first one is contact the police. Okay. At the very least, they need to take a police report, which legitimizes that there was a crime. If you need to take that to a credit card company or a bank or a merchant or somebody else, or if you need to go to court, right? You've legitimized that something has actually happened that's a crime. Okay. Whether you're able to get your money back or not is a totally different story. Whether the police are able to help you do anything else is a totally different story. They may not be able to help you do anything, but they must create a police report and you need to ask them to create one. And this is if you have lost something, if there's financial, if nothing has really happened, they may not be able to do a police report, but if there has been some sort of loss of finances or if a crime really has happened, you need to report it, okay? The second thing you must do is contact somebody who you know cares about you. It could be a friend or a relative or a neighbor, somebody. Because they may be able to help you and you may need to talk to somebody. Okay. And so you need to talk to those two people. And then you can do any of these other things. Go to report fraud at ftc.gov, contact the local state. I mean, you may be able to help somebody else from falling victim to a scam or something like that. But you must contact the police and you must contact somebody who you know cares about you, somebody who you know you really trust. Okay. And then if you need to do anything else, contact your bank, contact your credit card company, any of those other things, then do that too. Okay.